Hi there you, how are you? Me and Pisen are here. We are having a good day. It's very sunny today, which is very nice. And we are here to talk about planning for spring. So if you have been following me for some time, you know that I'm a big fan of seasonal planning, and I like to do these planning vlogs when I do my own seasonal planning and share some tips for planning for your season as well. So I thought I would do that again today. It's also nice to take you behind the scenes a little bit and show how things are going for me, what I'm working on, what my focus is for the time ahead. So what I'm using is my own planning guide. It's called 4 Seasons of Creative Work. And you can get this on my website, and you also get this if you join my membership community, Companions in Creativity. And we actually have this week a workshop on Wednesday, March the 9th. On planning for spring. So if you want some support in this, if you want to join a community and do your spring planning together with us, definitely come join us. So this is the yearly workbook, the first workbook that you start with, plan the year. So I'm going to check in with this. And then we have seasonal workbooks for each season. So this is the one for spring and this is the one for winter. So what I'm going to do now, each seasonal workbook starts with reflecting about the season we're living behind. So that is what I'm going to start with now. And I think that reflecting on the period we're living behind, whether it's a season or a quarter or something like that, it's really good to do that kind of reflecting. I think sometimes we feel a little bit vulnerable about reflecting about how our plans have been going, because we might feel like we're not doing enough, we're not progressing fast enough. Maybe we were really inspired when we made our plans, and now we might feel disappointed that we haven't gotten further or haven't been able to do the creative work we wanted to do. And I just wanted to say that I think that we can gain a lot of insight and understanding about ourselves, our creative work, what is working, what isn't working, and our own planning process if we do this kind of reflecting. And try to approach it not from a place of judging yourself, not from judging yourself, but from trying to understand better what's working and what isn't working, and how you are prioritizing and how you're distributing your focus in your creative life. If you have different things that you're working on, maybe there's something you always tend to prioritize and something you always tend to avoid. That is a pattern that you can learn a lot from about your own creative work. So yes, that's what I'm gonna start with. I am gonna make myself a cup of tea, and then I am gonna reflect about winter. And what I do is that I look at what I've created for winter. I look at what kind of intentions I had for winter and what I've been working on and what I've been doing during winter. So yeah, let's begin. And then after that, I'm gonna look at what I'm gonna do for spring as well and plan out that and tell you about it. So let's dive in. So that is my winter reflections done. And winter is, I enjoy the snow. I enjoy it in December specifically. And then winter is a season that is quite low on energy for me. And this is no exception this winter. It has been, as always, quite dark, and I always find that it brings down my energy levels quite a lot. So especially now in the end of winter, I felt like now that I'm getting more energy because we're getting more sunlight and it's starting to feel a little bit like spring, I can really feel that my energy is so much stronger. I'm so much more energized in my creative work. And I really feel like I'm at like 50% during winter. So it has been like that this winter as well. And I am a big proponent of to just embrace the seasons as they are, and accept that they are going to be like, our energy is different throughout the year, our creativity changes throughout the year, and in winter it tends to be more reflective, it tends to be more introspective, and not as productive, and like getting a lot of output, that kind of thing, in winter. And that has been very true for me as well. So in winter I took some time off over the holidays as well, so I haven't created as much as I would have like in autumn, for example. And I have spent quite a lot of time on end of the year reflections and planning for the new year as well, and thinking a lot about my vision for my creative work and my creative business, what I want it to be, and things have sort of been developing a little bit in how I think about my work. And I have an urge to focus a little bit and refine and simplify. And now that I'm coming up on having run my creative business full time almost a year now, I feel like I think about things a little bit differently. I'm seeing what is working, what isn't working for me, and things are just going through that normal evolution that creative work always does. And winter is a really good time for me to step back and think about things, and I see the same for a lot of creatives as well, that winter is a time when we are less productive, but it's more about thinking and reflecting and coming to a direction that we can work with in the seasons ahead. So that has definitely been my winter as well. It's been quite a behind the scenes season for me. I've been working on my my sort of overall direction in my creative work, but also my direction for this year. I have been thinking a lot about what I want this year and what I want to do in my creative work and how I want to focus on things and things like that. But I have also been actually doing things. So I've started creating a course that is launching in spring that is called the Creatives Compass. So that is underway. I've started work with that. I have also started work on my novel again, the new draft that I've been wanting to work on. So that is definitely a good thing that happened in winter. I picked that up again. I've been going through the outline. I have changed things around in the structure and found a new structure. I'm now working through how I want to structure each scene. So since this is a draft where I'm rewriting and adding things, I already know quite a lot about like how I want the novel to be. So I can go in quite specifically and say, okay, in this scene I want this to happen. So that's what I'm doing now. And having started that has been a really good thing that happened in winter as well. And yeah, I guess those are the like big points and big things that I've been working on during winter. What hasn't been going so well, I suppose, is the flip side of having a season that is a little bit low on energy, a little bit slower, a little bit more behind the scenes, is that it has not been as energized as like autumn, for example. It's been a little bit of a slow season in my business, and now that I'm coming up on a year of running my business full time, I'm starting to see the patterns of when my highs and lows are in my business. And I should have anticipated this, but it's really following the seasons. And that of course follows my energy, as well as your energy, I'm guessing. So yeah, I'm seeing that the slow seasons in my business is summer and winter. And those are the seasons where I tend to step back a little bit. I tend to be more introspective. I tend to think about things a little bit more broadly, behind the scenes kind of things. And in spring and autumn, it's definitely more my focused in the work, quite visible kind of creative work. So it makes a whole lot of sense that that is my rhythm in my business. And when you know your own rhythm in your creative work, whether it's business or other things, you can work with that and you can tap into that and actually use that and plan for that. So I'm really happy to have started to see that pattern. I should have known that it would be the seasons for me, but yeah, I guess you also have to actually see it. So overall, I am happy about winter. I'm happy about all the reflections I've done, and I feel like I am moving into spring with a lot of more clarity and more understanding what I'm doing, what I want to focus on, and how things are sort of developing and how I want them to develop in my creative life. And I'm also really happy about the novel that I'm doing that. So yeah, but I'm also very happy to be moving into spring with being a more energized season. So if you're thinking about your winter, think about how did you feel in winter in your creative work? How did it go? What went well? What felt good? What didn't go so well? What didn't feel good? Is there something that wasn't working for you during winter and you may want to revisit that? And also, if it has been a quite introspective and reflective season for you as well, what have you learned during winter that you can take with you into the seasons ahead? So, being done with winter, ready to leave it behind, what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to check in with my yearly goals, think about what I want to do this year, check in with that. And since it was not that long ago that I set them, it's not going to be a revisiting the goals kind of thing, but just to check in, always grounding things in my bigger vision. And I think that that's really good. And then I'm going to move on to thinking about spring, what kind of creative work I'm inspired for in spring, and make a plan. So I'm going to sit down with that and then tell you about my plans and give you some tips for planning your spring as well. Okay, I now have a spring plan. So that felt really good. I love doing this spring planning or season planning, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to spring as well. I have been planning this season a little bit in my mind for quite a while now, so it really just I just got everything out and down on paper, and it feels really good to have this ahead of me. So in spring, we tend to get a rush of new energy and new inspiration and new ideas. So I did a survey back in the day before I created this planning guide, and since then I've also worked with a lot of clients and with my companions in my membership, and it tends to be true that we get more energy, we get new ideas, we get more inspiration in spring after having winter been a season that is quite slow in general in like our energy and how we work and in our creativity. And so it's really good to try to channel this energy and inspiration in a good and sustainable way. So on one hand, it's great to actually use that inspiration and to channel that into creativity, and if there's a project you really want to move forward with, to use that energy and not let it go to waste or only on other things, for example. But it's also really good to not get too pushy. This energy with this rush of inspiration that we can get, sometimes it can get a little bit too much, and we can tend to be so inspired that we pile on too much on spring and we want to start a lot of different projects, and we get really scattered and struggle to move forward because we're moving in too many directions at once, or we burn out really quickly because we're pushing ourselves too hard. So I think with spring, it's try to think about what you're inspired for in spring. Think about what kind of creative work you tend to be inspired by. Listen to your own inspiration and where it's pointing you right now, what you would like to work on, what kind of things, if you're working on different things in your creative life, what kind of things are more suitable for spring. Think about those things and how you can channel your energy into that work, but also keep a good and sustainable pace and not spread yourself too thin. So my plan for spring, if winter has been quite a behind the scenes, introspective season of like figuring things out and working on things behind the scenes, working with my membership and my clients and all of that, spring will be a more outward facing kind of season for me. And I find that spring especially is probably the best season for me to do those kind of things. In autumn, I also have a lot of energy, but I tend to be a little bit more about deepening my like ideas and concepts and methods. Well, spring is quite a social season for me. So I really want to use that. I am not the most extroverted person, but so when I have that social energy, I think it's good to use that in the type of creative work that really benefits from that. So I have some different plans. I have a free workshop I want to run for my email letter subscribers sometime during spring, probably in April or late March. And I have a course, the Creatives Compass, that is launching, that will launch also end of March, beginning of April, somewhere around there. And this will be a season when I will, I have lots of different content ideas, and I want to tap into more sort of guiding, coaching content that will be really helpful. A little bit less of the introspective kind of content I also create, where I'm sharing mostly my own journey. I want to tap into a little bit more of different ideas I have for how I can help you guys in this season. And so I'm looking down at my focus areas here for spring. And the other thing that I'm really inspired for at the moment, that I have also been thinking about a lot during winter, is that I really want to strengthen the foundation of my business. And this comes and connects a lot to my yearly goal of nourishing my creative business and myself as a business owner. And this is something that has come from, I've been doing this for almost a year now, and I have been figuring out how I want to run my business. I've been figuring out like my business model of like, I want to have coaching clients. I've started my membership community, and I feel like I've been doing things here and there and starting to see, this is the puzzle that is my business. And I also feel like there is still little gaps here and there. There are things that I can strengthen within, sort of now that I understand my own creative work, my own creative business better, I can strengthen that like from the ground up. That's what I want to do, and that's something I want to work on the whole year, but I'm really inspired for it right now. I've been thinking a lot about it. And so there are many different little things, like I might create a new freebie for my email subscribers as well. I'm thinking of maybe sending out email letters every week instead of every other week. I'm not decided yet. I'm probably going to try it during spring and see how it feels, because I really want to strengthen my email letters as well. And there are a lot of different things that I want to work on, that will be sort of my creative foundation in my business. And alongside that, I have my novel that I want to work on as well. That's its own goal, and I'm starting to see them very much as two branches of my creative work. I have a business that is taking up the most part of my week, and then I have my novel that can exist on its own alongside my business. They don't have to be sort of wrapped up together in the same thing in my mind. They can exist both alongside each other. That's something that's resonating a lot with me right now. So I'm having a balance between the two. And with that, so what I'm doing now is that I'm planning out my scenes, like I said, and that is what I will continue to do mostly during spring. Since I'm having a quite outward focused season in my business, it is probably not going to be a season when I write a lot on a novel, but I want to prepare to be able to do quite a lot of writing during summer when things are slightly slower in my business. and I'm going to take some time off from business things as well. So I want to finish my scenes, planning out my scenes, and probably also start writing a little bit to test out and try to find a tone that I want in this draft, because it's changing slightly from the last draft. So that is something I really would like to hit, to see, okay, can I find that tone that I'm looking for, and how can I do that? So I'd probably like write out a couple of chapters and think about them and reread them and see if I manage to hit that tone, so that when summer comes, I'm ready to just keep writing and start writing and start editing and writing a next draft. So that is essentially my spring plan. I also have another small course. So the Creative Compass is launching in spring. I have one more small course that I have planned, that I plan on launching maybe the end of summer or early autumn. So I'll probably start thinking about what I want that course to be, the structure for that. And that will be more in balanced creativity, calm creativity, that kind of thing. So I'll probably start planning that a little bit, but not work on it yet during spring, I think. So yes, that is my spring plan. And when you are sitting down to plan your creative work for spring, what I always recommend is to make your own focus areas. So this is especially important if you have a lot of different things you want to work on, you have a lot of different projects or parts of your project. So for example, if you're a blogger, maybe you both want to like get better at writing, and you want to build up your Instagram, and maybe you want to start posting your blog posts to Pinterest, and maybe there are other things as well. So it can be like a little bit scattered, and when we have this kind of creative structure in our lives, different things, multi-passionate, then it can be also really good to sit down and think about, okay, so what do I want to focus on this season? Because we can do everything, but we can't do everything at once. So really actually think about, what do I want to focus on? If I can only do one thing this spring, what do I want that to be? Because if we don't prioritize, if we don't decide what we will focus on and what we won't focus as much on, we have a tendency to just go in either a little bit of all directions and not make that much progress, or go with what feels easiest and most comfortable and never prioritize the things that maybe are a little bit scary, or for some reason feels a little bit uncomfortable for you. So really think about, what do I want to focus on this season? How do I want to move forward with my creative work this year? And what is most important to prioritize? And what do I feel inspired to prioritize in this season as well? Because joy and inspiration always, always, always matters. Whenever we can, go with what your inspiration is telling you, but try to not go in 100 directions. We can't do that, and we have to prioritize. That's just the truth. And the truth is that if we don't prioritize intentionally, then something else will prioritize for us. Because prioritizing will happen to some degree, because we will run out of time, or someone else will tell us that we need something, or we will be inspired by something. So we can't do everything, and so make that priority consciously and mindfully and intentionally. That's what I'm trying to say. And when you have decided what you want to focus on in this season, try to also think about what activities can you tie to those focus areas. So what are the things that you would like to do that is within your focus areas? So for me, with wanting to strengthen my business foundation, one activity, for example, is maybe I want to do a new freebie for my email letters subscribers. Maybe I want to strengthen my Instagram a little bit. I've been in a slump again with Instagram, so that is something I want to try to figure out during spring. No promises. So think about what activities belongs with these focus areas. And then you can think about, okay, so what makes sense to focus on the different parts of spring? What can I focus on in March? Or what activities can I work on in March? What can I do in April? What can I do in May? But try to not plan in too detailed, just have a little bit of a structure for spring as well. So yeah, you don't get overwhelmed and try to do everything at once again. So yeah, that is my spring planning, my tips for planning your spring. And I would love to hear in the comments what you are inspired for in your creative life this spring. Is there something you want to focus on, or are you struggling to plan, or struggling to find your focus? Tell us in the comments. I always love to hear this kind of stuff. So thank you so much for coming along with me in this spring planning. I hope that your spring is off to a really good start. And if you want to do spring planning as well, you can always get 4 Seasons of Creative Work on my website. The link is down below. And if you want also to join a wonderful and warm community of creatives and do your spring planning together with us, come join us in Companions with Creativity. I should also say that I'm now also booking one-to-one creative coaching clients. So if you in your spring planning realize that you really want to move forward with some projects this spring, maybe you're stuck with something, figuring out your style, or whatever it may be, maybe you feel blocked, you are so welcome to also work one-to-one with me. I'll leave the link to my creative coaching as well down below. So thank you so much for coming with me. Have a lovely start to spring, and if you're new here, hello and welcome. You can subscribe down below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!